if you were to look at the average watch time per video view, all of our losers were around 3.4 seconds versus our winners, which had only about a second longer average view time, so about a 4.49. TikTok is still so new. It's still so free-flowing in terms of where the winners are and where the performance is, that my suggestion to brands is don't be too rigid. TikTok is at the moment like a flash flood that's coming down a river, and you don't want to be swimming against that current. You want to be free-flowing. You want to take what TikTok is giving you. You want to swim with the flow, find what works, and I can assure you that when you do find those winners, it's just going to absolutely skyrocket, and it's super exciting.
Imperfect Foods, Instacart, Nespresso, and Coach all use Coley to generate TikTok videos that are on brand, on budget, and on time. As one of TikTok's first creative partners, Coley has the track record, know-how, and tools to help you TikTok your way to short-form glory. And now you can tap into that exclusive expertise with Coley's TikTok Creative Brief template. It has all the steps you need for successful creator collaborations and best practices to create fun and engaging TikToks. Head to Coley.com/TikTok to download your free copy and start creating TikToks for your brand that people actually want to watch. That's COHLEY.com/TikTok. Welcome to All Killer No Filler. It is Wednesday, and I'm Eric Dick, and I am here with Spencer from the Pilot House TikTok team. The TikTok takeover continues. Last week, we featured a 15-minute talk from Miss TikTok herself, Andrea Di Demizio. And today we're back with Spencer's take on basically what advertisers should be thinking about for their first 30 days on TikTok ads. He's put together a little presentation that he shared with the company. We got him back on the podcast to share it with our listeners. Welcome to the All Killer No Filler show. Spencer, how you doing?
Doing well, thanks, Eric. Yeah, it's just me and you today, but hopefully, well, it'll probably be me rambling for the next little bit, but I think that this topic of that first 30 days on TikTok is something that's super actionable, and it's something that at Pallet House we've really kind of been refining down. There's a few things that are, a bit like go with the flow. I'll kind of get into that, but there's a lot of really useful stuff here, and especially with such a new platform. I find that a lot of brands are really unsure of like how to act, and they're also taking in methodologies from old platforms that I'm really hoping to dive into and help people out with.
Hyper relevant. I liked how Andrew began her presentation at our live event, just saying, "Do you ever feel like everyone's talking about you?" Because I feel like that's definitely the case where a lot of brands are opening up their an opportunity to be testing and scaling TikTok. So I think this is perfect timing. I'll kind of just let you take it away, and if I have any questions, I'll let you know.
Totally. And just to like set this up a little bit, at Powerhouse, like we have been seeing just improvement after improvement on TikTok's performance and then as a platform in general. And so like as an advertising agency, we're super excited to get brands onto the platform and actually start testing. And it's something that we've kind of been talking with brands that have been coming into us. And, I think this is a perfect time to kind of share it with the All Killer No Filler listeners. And it's that we've been offering for brands that are really applicable and interested to test for the first month, and we're like really excited to work with. We're actually offering a free month testing with us. We're just like waiving the retainer because we're super excited to get people on platform, and we want to get testing with our brands as well. And if free isn't enough, we actually do have an additional offer on top of that. I really actually wish that I could share exactly what it is, but it's actually something that we can only share over calls, little one-on-ones. So if I can just like leave it at that, if you guys are interested in hearing what it is, you can just like hit us up. We'd love to get on a call with you. A lot of this like first 30 days is, it fluctuates a little bit because, every brand is unique. Every brand has its own strategy, and we can go over that as well as these little secret offers that I would love to share.
It's putting your money where your mouth is a little bit, giving away the free month of retainer, I guess, because you have the belief that there are so many brands that can work well on it. And ratcheting it up with this secret offer is truly devious. I can tell that's a Hitchcock's original. So I will have to call in just to get that offer. So, but without further ado, we'll have a good strong CTA at the end to get in touch with you and the TikTok team. But let's get into what a brand's first 30 days on TikTok ads might look like.
Absolutely, yeah. Get all that retainer stuff out of the way, and then we can get into the meat and potatoes. A bit of like this first 30 days is super important, and we've just been launching like brand after brand to actually refine this in. And you talk about having Andrea out to the DTC event. Andrea, we work with directly, and actually had the pleasure of meeting her over in Toronto, and we've been developing this like launch strategy for a bit. So when I kind of make these suggestions, it's not only from our experience, but it's also straight from TikTok as well. We kind of give and take what we can, and it's been developed between the two teams. We work really closely. So a bit of the broads of what I would suggest for brands is setting up obviously what you should be prepared for to launch, and how to actually test effectively, and then building those campaigns and what to look for in results. So starting with what you should be prepared for, creative is key, creative is king, and what exactly does that look like? A bit of like a starting point, I would suggest you have like right around 12 fresh creatives to launch for the month. I would say that's the base. People are just like, the more the merrier. Not every brand can come out with 25 pieces of content a month. Maybe you can. If you can, that's fantastic. But if you're going to go for a basic, think about 12. And you can break those 12 down in a number of ways. One, generally, see if you can keep it within TikTok's best practices. You can find some of those online. The length between like 24 and 35, high quality, vertical, keep it organic, like that kind of thing. And one thing that you can do to help hit that as well is if you go to TikTok Creative Center, you can go through and find their top ads and their trending ads, and you can pretty much just cherry pick from those and find the elements that are actually working within those ads. What's the general structure? Are they doing it from a branded or unbranded perspective? Where's the CTA in it? Even what's the trend? If it's on the trending page, it's trending. And if you can kind of cherry pick and make that your own, find the elements that you like about it, you can whip out 3-4 of the creatives and you're already a quarter, third of the way there. Some other things that you can do, a lot of brands like to use the content that they have, that they already have. And although like we don't usually like to take Facebook content and bring it over to TikTok, during these first 30 days, I would actually suggest you add in 1 or 2 of your favorites. Even just for like your own sake of like you've already put in money and time into that stuff. So why not test it? Especially with how quickly you can test stuff on TikTok. It might just give you a bit of solace of like, okay, yeah, that does back it up. And to be fair, we have had one brand in particular that we just took their stuff that was working on Facebook, and it was just crushing on TikTok. We made iterations that made it more TikTok-y, but for the most part, we found winners in those first. The last suggestion that I could have on this creative is making your own stuff, and a great way to start is with just B-roll reactions, point of view of the products, just basic B-roll video, and then get somebody with a silky smoother, exciting voice. Eric, we might have to bring you on for some of this and do voiceover testing. Just get 3 to 5 voiceovers, just different scripts with different openings, stuff like this stuff's been crushing on TikTok lately. This stuff's going viral on platform. We're trying to get people hooked in. There's so many CTA and like hooks and outros that you can play around with, and this is the place to do it.
How about the robo voice? Because I know you can get TikTok to say your words for you. Have you ever tested using their weird in-house voices?
Definitely. It's very quick to do it. And if that's what you have to test, then absolutely you can just use these voiceovers and the scripts with that robo voice. It does have like a certain tone to it, but we've almost had, if I'm just making up these numbers now, but if the hit rate of a regular person voiceover is 100%, let's say, let's go a bit more realistic. If
My
it's
voice,
30%,
my voice would be 100.
your
Yes,
voice would be
obviously.
100%.
Yeah.
So let's say Eric's voice has a 100% hit rate. The robo voice might have like 75. So in terms of like, if you have a massive variety, the robo voice could be a really good way to go. And so don't shy away from it. But if you can get a real person, and then suddenly if you have 3 B-roll edits and 3 to 5 voiceovers, that's 9 to 15 videos that you can test. Now those wouldn't necessarily be like unique pieces. I'd say it's more so like 3 to 5 unique pieces, but that's just like an example of, you can have these voiceovers, you can have B-roll, they're totally interchangeable, and that's been a really, really good thing that we've been utilizing on our end, to just test different products, test different CTAs, test different structures and lengths.
I just wanted to ask too about like creative archetypes. Like, are there specific kinds of creatives? You mentioned obviously, people using the product, simple stuff filmed with your phone, B-roll with voiceover and things like that. But beyond those, like, are there sort of structures of creatives that tend to work across accounts that you use again and again?
Yeah, definitely. It is really helpful to like see other brands' successes as well. We have like some spy tools that help us see what other brands are doing, as well as just what's on the creative center. But it is crazy how often just the regular POV and like it might just have robot voiceover, and honestly, like it might not always have like a sparkle of like, wow, what an amazing ad. Um, so like the thought process of structuring like a perfect ad might not be there, uh, and like we just see a ton of winners from ours as well as other brands just having that kind of structure, just showing off the product, nothing too crazy, but that's not necessarily what it's not the most exciting to share, but there absolutely are other things that other structures that we stick with. A great example is there's a lot of audios that have a build up to then like the drop of the song, and it towards that drop of the song, that's when the joke of the song is, when they'll be revealing something, and I'll kind of get into metrics of what we're looking out for in terms of like view time and things, but the view time just skyrockets on stuff like that. Even if they see it's an ad, users recognize that audio, and that'll have like that build up, and then once it hits the drop where you can reveal the product or a benefit of the product or a joke, um, viewers will, what will usually be like a 3 second watch time, they'll have like an average watch time of like 6 seconds because that's when the drop is. And finding things like that are really cool. And like that's an example where, if we have the editing bandwidth for it, we'll shoot it in for sure. And we love a style like that.
Amazing. So you've got your creative locked up here. What is next? The next step in this 30-day boot camp?
So sticking with the still within like the what you should know, very briefly on the post click, uh, I just say keep it simple. If you think that TikTok users are very low attention span, we see that in their post click behavior as well. Bounce rates are high, uh, time on site's usually lower. So just keep the post click very simple and sweet. At Pilot House, we do have the luxury of using our program Rubix, our proprietary software Rubix, which allows us to keep the same link but then test different multiple landing pages, which is great for the first 30 days if you're trying to test on a lower budget. But if you are just needing to stick within, single URL landing page testing, just send right to the product page. Send right to the product page. There's some brands that have success even sending right to a preloaded checkout, but make it very simple for them. They don't want to go searching through your collections page. Uh, unless that is the like a big benefit of the product or your brand. If you're selling blankets, send them to the blanket page. That's what we've seen do the best, especially within the first 30 days. You should be thinking, how do I unlock creative first and then start optimizing off of that? And lastly, just on what you should get ready, brands always ask about organic. Should we be pushing organic because, they might go searching for the brand? I'm going to say I'll leave it up to you, but I don't always push that direction. If you have the capacity for it and bandwidth and you want to be posting, 2, 3, 4, 5 times a week, and you have the capacity for it, that's awesome. We can boost some of those ads. We can still use some of the creative, but is it necessary? No. If you need to stay within just the paid ads, stay within just the paid ads. Make that work.
And you can view them separately. There's probably a synergistic benefit to, having the founders, test new creative, and there's a chance that some of that stuff is going to work well on the paid side, but realistically you can also view it as two separate kind of siloed things and still be effective.
Totally. And what works on one may not work on the other. So viewing them as like a siloed effort is definitely a good way to go. But yeah, if you only have the capacity for one, just start with one.
What's the most recent category of brand that we've been able to make work on TikTok?
The most recent category has definitely just been like this virtual service kind of thing. Work with somewhere where they just have you like develop like a certain song for somebody that you pretty much put in a request to them, and then it like sources out to then make a custom song for you. And so it's almost like a digital product, but then they just outsource to these songwriters.
That's such a good fit. The creativity, the creativity that you're experiencing on TikTok and the creativity you can kind of purchase through that offer is seems like a no-brainer.
Absolutely. So that's that kind of direction of like a digital service, and that's just as of recently. We still love our watches and our jewelry and some of those like impulse purchase kind of fun products.
Cosmetics.
Yep, love them.
See all the time the things that TikTok made me buy. Nice, very cool. So
it's showing up on your page too, the cosmetics?
Oh yeah, for sure. No, actually not as much. Not as much for me. Just probably because of all the cosmetic people I interview, maybe. iOS 14.5, the infamous Apple update, left D2C brands struggling to find and market to the right audiences. That's why hundreds of D2C brands are turning to Black Crow AI. Their plug-and-play machine learning technology measures in real time every visitor's likelihood to buy to build predictive audiences for retargeting and prospecting. In short, Black Crow can significantly boost ROAS by helping you specifically target people who will actually want to buy from you. Find out why brands like Magic Spoon, Barabee, and Liquid IV are using Black Crow AI. Visit blackcrow.ai to learn more and request a 30-day free trial. Anything else that brands need to be aware of in those first 30 days?
Absolutely. Moving on to how to test effectively, and then ultimately, hopefully I won't get too much into the nitty gritty. I love talking about campaign setup and things, but I'll try to keep it very short and sweet for us here. How to test effectively on TikTok. There's one thing that you should kind of keep in mind, and this is something where like when we work with the TikTok crew, like actually our reps, that we kind of have to take what they have to say with a grain of salt and like always have the performance marketing mindset that we have, which is, do you follow TikTok's best practices, or as I say, go rogue? Because it's obviously not what they suggest, but are you thinking, okay, I'm wanting to keep within like trying to get out of the learning phase and trying to get have the right budgets for my product and everything like that. They also suggest things like starting your optimization at view content, getting 50 conversions, then going up to add to cart. And it's something that I'll pretty much say, like, we don't follow the TikTok best practices, but there are scenarios where we can pull back and start to kind of consider those. And let's just take the optimization event as an example. If you have an extremely high AOV product and maybe your budget isn't very high for that product, TikTok might just start under-delivering because it's just not able to get the amount of conversions that the algorithm needs to make that product succeed. So that might be something where you start thinking, okay, I'm under delivering, and maybe I'll start trying out the view content optimization event or an add to cart. Um, it's all stuff to keep in mind, but for the most part, if you were to ask me, start with complete payment. Um, you'll just like be developing you'll be getting event fires for everything leading up to that, and if you can make complete payment work, then you know the creative's good, and you're just off to the races from that point
That's
on.
the purchase objective. That's the final purchase objective on TikTok.
Complete payment, yeah.
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 Very cool.
On that note, and the note of budget, it does come up with what should your budget be, and a lot of the times brands do have a lower budget, so it does make it a little bit tricky because TikTok wants you to be able to get out of that conversion period, uh, out of the learning stage of the campaign, and that's like by hitting like 50 conversions, which can make it tricky if you're kind of only wanting to spend like $100, $200, $300 a day, because it just starts under delivering your ads. So it is something to keep in mind, and if there's something I can kind of share with brands that are wanting to launch with a lower budget, it's that you shouldn't be thinking continuous testing. You should be thinking siloed testing with the creative that you're wanting to test.
Bursts
Which
almost.
is, pardon?
Bursts almost of like targeted campaign spend based on creative.
Totally. So if you're spending $100 a day for the month, don't think of it as spending $100 a day. Think of it as spending $300, $400, $500 a day. Putting that out for the first day or two, seeing what the metrics are, and we can kind of get into that. And if it's not working, then cut it. And then you can go back to the drawing board, start making the creatives, and then you'll go days without spending, and then that'll make up for the burst spend that you have at the beginning. The point is that we just want to encourage the TikTok algorithm that you can like find a lot of success and have enough fires to the pixel. So really think about that. Think about not necessarily keeping very low budgets, but actually spend as though your budget's triple for the month. And if you find success and it's crushing, perfect. Keep running. Just keep running at that higher budget, because it's just going to find success. And obviously, if you're hitting your ROAS target, then perfect. If not, don't be afraid to just cut that creative, take the data that you found from it, iterate if you need, or just go back to the drawing board and see what else you can do. Yeah, just don't be afraid of that. Have like a full month budget, and if you need a burst spend, then that's all good. One last note before I get to building your campaigns and results is be prepared for the data loss. The data loss is definitely there. We account for about 40 to 70%, and it can like really deter brands that are not seeing the results they need on platform. If you're getting horrible results are horrible results. But if you're like just on the cusp of hitting your goal, keep in mind that there's a lot of data loss. We like to do post-purchase surveys and use third-party data partners, and there's some brands where we're the only traffic source, and those are all good ways to actually see what the traffic is doing beyond what's actually being reported in Ads Manager. So just look at the different options that you have available, so you actually get that straight from the horse's mouth. How's this performance doing, and is it something that is hitting our actual goals, opposed to just reporting based on platform?
And to be clear, platform is underreporting 40 to 70% versus actual. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, yeah, and it is improving, but for the most part, that's what we see, and that's what TikTok sees as well.
Very cool. Yeah, this is something we see across all platforms. TikTok is not immune to it. Very cool. So on to building your campaign and the results that you can expect to hopefully achieve.
Totally. Hopefully I don't ramble too much or get too much into the details. If you need to listen to this at 0.5 speed in a notepad, then that's all good. I'll just try to run through this. But
we're
also
going to put this in the newsletter, and we'll also make sure that these notes, I think we could probably even fit them in the podcast show notes. So this whole structure 30-day bootcamp point form will be in somewhere for you to access if you're listening.
Love it. Yeah. We don't want you to be taking down notes if you're driving in the car listening to this. um, cool. So you're building your campaigns. With the structure, we found that when you launch, variety is your friend and going a bit more broad is your friend as well. If you were to just launch with one campaign, CBO, 6 to 12 ad groups, and just like go wild with how the targeting is on those ad groups, I've seen a lot of people just try to go, uh, say you're like selling some wool and you just go, oh, obviously I just want to hit like a knitting audience. That's definitely something that we see like do super well on Facebook, and it's been a consistent audience. But it might just be because TikTok fluctuates so much, or it's a newer ad platform. But we just haven't seen that be the best way to target. So go with more ad groups and go broader and go a wider mix. If it's CBO, it's just going to find the winners, and it does actually a very good job. That if you know, have 100 balloons up on a wall and throw a dart, it's just going to hit one of them. And if you were to go broad, aim for like a balanced or broad audience. It's typically over like 10 million that we can hit, but that's a good way to go about doing it. I've already touched on what to do with the optimization event. Complete payment is a great place to start, but if you can look at your AOV, it might be too high. If you're under delivering? Then you can start looking at going outwards from that. Onto creative, 3 to 5 creative per group. Variety is great. If you want to test stuff like the voiceover variations, great place to do it. And then uh, that's kind of like a bit of the basics of how we structure like our really bare bones tests. It's quite a bit broader than what we would usually go for on something like Facebook, but that's pretty much it. And then it comes to how long should you test and what kind of goalpost should you be aiming for. When we talk about that the burst spends of like don't spend 100, spend 3, 4, 500. Uh, that is because we also see that you can test very quickly on TikTok with these higher budgets, and it's pretty indicative of how it's going to do in the long term. So 3 to 5 days is plenty time to test on platform. Um, you should be able to get back everything that you need there. And from those 3 to 5 days, if you aren't seeing the ROAS necessarily, then like that's just kind of how it is, and you got to start cutting and start reassessing. And then you can also look at what are the goalposts in terms of the watch time and the click through rate that we have seen be pretty pretty dramatically linked to how the performance of that ad actually is. Keep in mind that these notes that I'll share, it's a bit of a generalization. Every brand is different, so you should be able to eventually find your own goalposts. But we have pulled data from about 500,000 ad spend across multiple accounts and 190 unique ads that have been tested. And we broke it down between our winners and our losers, what we deemed our winners and our losers. And if you were to look at the average watch time per video view, all of our losers were around 3.4 seconds. So that first 3 seconds is super important for the creative, and just like versus our winners, which had only about a second longer average view time, so about a 4.49. So we get them over that hump of, hey, are you interested in this ad, or have we scared you away? So keeping an eye on that average view time is really good, because we have seen that the longer that people view the ad, that the better the chances are that they're going to convert. Um, and that is linked pretty closely to the click-through rate. As a general rule, aiming for around a 1% is pretty good. In the delivery, it won't hurt the delivery and how TikTok actually puts your ad within the bid auction. So that's really good. Again, it really depends which brand you're going for, and you should find your own little goalposts. But that's a really good way to aim for. Our like winners, as an example, were around like a 1.4% click-through rate, and that paired with the higher view time, perfect. So those are the kind of metrics that you should be looking for. If things are working or not working, you should just be ready to iterate on that creative. Iterations are key because um, the creative fatigue on TikTok is very high. So even if you find winners, you should be prepared that within a couple weeks that's going to start dying down, and that's when iterations should start coming in. But if things aren't working, you can still look to iterate. You can look to iterate and come up with new voiceovers to test. You can iterate and try to make things, try to change the opening and the hook to try to make it more or less branded. Is it branded versus unbranded content, like from influencers or UGC? And that is pretty much a really, really good place to start for your first 30 days. There's a ton more stuff to keep in mind. A big a big thing that I'll summarize up here with Eric is TikTok is still so new. It's still so free flowing in terms of where the winners are and where the performance is, that my suggestion to brands, especially with creative, is don't be too rigid. TikTok is at the moment like a flash flood that's coming down a river, and you don't want to be swimming against that current. You want to be free flowing. You want to take what TikTok is giving you. You want to just, if it feels like it's not working, there's probably a reason for it. And so don't be too rigid, swim with the flow, find what works. And I can assure you that when you do find those winners, it's just going to absolutely skyrocket on the account, and it's super exciting.
Amazing. Yeah, I think that's a good metaphor. You don't in a flash flood, you don't want to be a stick in the mud.
Yeah.
Exactly. What else should people avoid in your final summation here of their first 30 days on TikTok?
Yeah, just kind of as a summary, if you wanted to get to the end and got to a too long, didn't read kind of part of it, it's don't be too rigid. Don't keep uh, don't keep your audiences too narrow and rely on those narrow audiences. You're just not going to find too much success. Don't keep that budget too low on the day to day. Try to keep it a little bit higher, and splitting your creative efforts between paid and organic. You should really think about what your capacity is in terms of keeping up with that creative, because even after the 30 days, you're going to have to keep up with 12 new pieces of creative a month. And so, can you do that just on paid? Can you do it just on organic? Or can you do both? It's really good to keep in mind, but really don't shoot yourself in the foot and feel like you don't have the capacity and like you um, have to like split your efforts between the two, because when it comes down to it, there is still tonal changes between a good organic ad and a good paid ad.
I also just I love that call of focusing on complete purchase. It's what we've always talked about on Facebook ads as well. Don't not messing around with CTA with add to cart whenever you can avoid it kind of thing. Going right to purchase, and then using those metrics of view time and click through rate. I think that's the big buried lead here, that you actually did all this data across all those campaigns and saw this huge correlation to this increase in watch time that also correlated to purchase. I think it's obvious, it's a no-brainer, but it's like a really effective sort of canary in the coal mine when you're trying to get a read on these campaigns.
Absolutely. It kind of simplifies it down a little bit. I think buyers really like to complicate things, and for good reason. Like Facebook buying can be super complicated, and there's still a ton to find out about TikTok as well. We're finding out new stuff every week. But if you're really trying to break down that first 30 days, you can keep a pretty standard buying strategy, I suppose, and then start looking at that creative, because that's where the majority of the performance, the wins and the losses, are going to come from.
So, speaking of 30 days, if any of our listeners in the audience want to experience Pilot House 30 days free boot camp, get up and running on TikTok, what do you recommend that they do, Spencer?
You can find our application form on the Pilot House website, pilothouse.co, and just go through and submit a form. If you want to email me, you can email me at spencer@pilothouse.co. I love just chatting TikTok or seeing if we can get a call set up. And yeah, like this offer isn't something that is it's not something that's going to be available forever. So if it is something that you're interested in, hit us up. Let us know that you're interested in. We'd love to do an audit for the brand. Let you know how it's going to do on TikTok. See what you've run already. So if you're interested, I'd jump on it as soon as possible.
Last time we asked you, we were trying to decide who you would like to work with most. You sent your psychic energies out into the universe, and a watch company reached back out to us, which is awesome. If you had to right now, who would you say? Who else would you just die to get? You don't have to say a brand. You could say a category. You could say a brand. Who would you like to join up?
Oh, it's so tough. It's so tough to pick because there's so many. There's such a variety that have come to us that I'm just very excited to work with. There's definitely just to go off of the same share that I had about the digital products. Love the idea of digital products. That's been working really well for us. We have a few in the pipeline just to work with, whether it be like websites or apps. And on top of that, what's been doing really well on TikTok is like food delivery services, like food prep services. Uh, those have been doing really well on TikTok as well, and I would love to get my hands on one.
Nice. I think that's a great shout. They're the ones that I see the most, and they're the ones that are almost the most native in a way, just because I think I watch a lot of cooking content. So the chef's plate ones and things like that are very a little bit sneaky in my feed. I'll watch a few more minutes of those ones for sure, usually.
Totally.
Nice. All right. Well, thanks for coming on All Killer No Filler today. We'll make sure that this summary is available in text for anyone interested. You want to work with Pilot House, you go to pilothouse.co, fill out a contact form. Easy as that. We'll chat with you soon, Spencer.
Lovely. Thanks for having me, Eric.
Thanks so much for listening to today's episode. If you're not a subscriber to our newsletter, you can do that right now at direct-to-consumer, all one word, .co. I'm Eric Dick, and this has been the D2C Podcast. We'll see you next time.